Hello. Hi, I'm Ego, and this video is for you if there is something that you want to do, something that you think you should be doing that you haven't done, or that you can't seem to make yourself do because you are so afraid. It is for you if you've heard the words, feel the fear and do it anyway, or if you've heard you just have to get over being scared. You just have to be fearless, do it anyway. And for some reason, you still feel blocked. You still just can't get over that hurdle. You are scared. And even though you've heard those words said multiple ways over again, you still don't quite know what it means to be afraid. I'm going to try to explain in the next couple of minutes what I think it means to be fearless. And I want to invite you to maybe walk with me, just stay with me. Consider the fact that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. There is a huge gap between being crippled with fear and being fearless. I'm inviting you to consider the fact that you don't have to be all the way on the spectrum of fearless in order to do the thing. That's what we're going to be talking about today. There's an old interview of Maya Angelou where she was asked why she seems so fearless, or why she is so fearless, like she seems very unafraid. And her response to that are life-changing words. She said, "I'm afraid all the time, but I am not afraid of anything. Once I really admitted that I would die, that it is the one promise I can be sure will not be reneged on. Once I understood that, I could be present, and I am totally present all the time. I try. So I am afraid all the time, but at the same time, I am not afraid of anything. I've given that up. In every present moment, I give everything I've got all the time. It is great fun, and it is liberating." And those words perfectly encapsulate what it really means to be fearless. It is not the absence of fear. Now, the feeling of fear hits really personal for me because I am someone who has had to overcome a lot of fears. I am sitting before you today, well, not before, but before you, and speaking and sharing words, which is what I do on the internet all the time now. And I don't think there has ever been a moment where I have done it without feeling a little afraid or a little scared. I was just talking about this with a friend a couple of weeks ago. I remember the first time I had to give a presentation in school. I was about 16 or 17. I got up and I stood in front of my classmates and I stumbled over my words. And I don't think I was doing as badly as I thought I was doing in the moment. It's just I felt the room get smaller and smaller and smaller and I passed out. That is how frightened I was of public speaking. And I remember after that day, I just thought, this is something that I'm never going to be able to do. I am not built for public speaking. I'm a nervous person. I'm an introvert. I'm better at executing. I'm better at following. I'm better at helping the people who are at the forefront, but maybe I am not supposed to be the person in the forefront. And for a long time, that became a core part of my personality. It became a core part of my identity. I identified myself as someone who was scared of public speaking and was just really efficient, like being in the background. And while there's nothing inherently wrong with being the background, that was not my path. It wasn't true to me, but for a long time, it was my reality. It really was true. And I share that to say it's almost a decade and a half later now, and I am doing things that I didn't even think I was capable of. I had defined myself as being incapable of doing it because I was so afraid. And the change didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen all at once. But at some point, I had to take a stance and I had to actively choose to redefine myself. So the jumping off point of what I'm going to tell you is what Miss Angelou said, which is that once you realize that you are going to die, there is one sure thing. This isn't a doomsday message. It's not a good or a bad thing. It is just a fact of life that you're going to die. I think if there are things that you want to do that you're scared to do, you're most likely going to feel that way a decade from now, 2 decades from now. If you're lucky enough, if any of us are lucky enough to live that long, you're going to feel that way. Your dreams won't necessarily die with you. You might quiet them out. You might convince yourself that you're not meant to do them, but you're still going to have that hunger, that wanting, the longing for it decades from now. And from talking to other people, I've learned that most of us do get there. Eventually, we do get to the point at some point in our lives where we become fearless. But I don't want you to wait decades to realize that about yourself. I don't want you to wait decades to take up the courage that it's already in you. If the courage wasn't in you, you wouldn't have the hunger for the things that you want. So that's the one thing I want us to get out of the way. Time here on this earth is finite. At least in this body that you're in this life that you're living right now is finite. The one thing that is sure is that you're not going to have it forever. But more importantly, you're not going to be able to just get up and go forever, no matter what age you are. I don't know how old you are when you're listening to this. You could be in your 20s, you could be in your 30s, like me, you could be in your 40s. It doesn't matter. Whenever the time is for you to start, that is the time for you to start. And it could be as early as today. And no matter where you are on your journey, I want to remind you that your personality isn't immutable. The ways you define yourself are not unchangeable. You don't have to be stuck there. You can rewrite the script of your life. You can choose to change whatever identity you have been carrying around, whether it was one that you built up in order to survive, in order to protect yourself, in order to fit in order to be accepted, in order to feel loved, to feel seen. You can change it at any time. It's not going to be easy because that identity does exist in certain people's heads, but you don't owe it to anyone to stay a particular version of yourself. You don't owe it to anyone to remain unchanged. You don't owe it to anyone to stay one way. Your life is not immutable. Your life is not unchangeable. Your life is not set in stone. If you want to change it, it is well within your right as a human being existing on this star in space to change it. A couple of years back when I was reading the book Big Magic, there was a part in the book where the author said, fear is boring. It seems like your fear is this singular thing that is so crippling for you. Like when you hold on to it, your fear feels like it's yours. It feels like such a personal thing, but your fear isn't yours. That is the one thing that we all share. Your fear is one of the most unspecial things about you. The fact that you are afraid of doing what you want to do doesn't make you special. You are not alone in that feeling. It is an evolutionary instinct that we all share. We are all afraid of being seen, of being perceived to different degrees, but that is not something that you are alone in. That is not something that you don't share with anyone. There are many people, including the people who are doing the things that you want to do, the things that you dream of doing. They feel the same fear. They work through it every day. They work with it every day. Your fear is not the most interesting part of you. You have to put that aside. It is not the most interesting part of you. You have to, in many ways, stop wearing it as a badge of honor, as this protective thing. You can't use your fear to protect yourself. You use your fear to make excuses, to procrastinate, to put things off, to give realistic excuses for why you can't live the life that you know you want to live, why you can't be the person that you know you want to be, why you can't stand up for what you want to stand up for. I understand it can be alienating when you decide to take a path that is so vastly different from what you've already been doing, because sometimes it comes with a loss of community. It comes with people misunderstanding you. But like I said before, you don't owe it to anybody to stay the same. There are many things that we owe each other, but you don't owe it to anyone to stay the same. As a matter of fact, you owe it to all of us. You owe it to the collective to be yourself. We deserve to experience you in your full self. If you want to be loved, then you have to give people the chance to actually love you, not the personality, not the person that you're projecting into the world. You are not just depriving yourself, you're depriving everybody else of you. It's about you, but it's not about you. It's much bigger than you. I want you to see how important it is that you don't stay stuck in the role that you've been playing for a really long time. Once you've gotten the nudge that you're not supposed to be playing that role anymore, and I think if you're watching this video, then you're probably guessing that that's why you clicked on it. Once you've gotten that nudge, then it means it's time to start laying the foundation for the changes that you want to make. The one thing that is sure is that all of this is changing. We are changing. Life is changing. It will all pass. And you won't always be this afraid, but you don't want to wait until you are so beaten by the world that you're no longer afraid, because then time would have passed. You could have done so many things with the fear. You could have really proven to yourself that you are ready to take the life that is yours. These are the words that I have said to myself, and I often have to say to myself that I am privileged to have been born. I am privileged to exist in this particular time that I'm in, and I'm privileged to be educated. I'm privileged to be able to make choices. I'm fortunate to be able to make choices and to be alive and to be able to get up and go and to be able to change my mind. That in itself is a privilege, and it is hard won. Lots of people gave up a lot, gave up their lives, had to go through so many experiences for me to learn the things that I've learned. And if I'm passing this on to you, it is almost irresponsible for us not to do anything with it and to just sit with it. For you to sit with the gifts that you're supposed to share with the collective is irresponsible. It is unfair. We deserve to see you. We deserve to experience you. So you have to sit with yourself and sift out your fears, your anxieties, and separate which anxieties and which fears are yours versus the ones that have been thrust upon you. That's another thing. There are many times when I have found myself being scared of something and I've had to walk myself back to when I heard it the first time, only for me to realize that it's the fear that was thrust upon me. It wasn't something I was scared of. It wasn't something that I'm afraid of. So you have to sift through those things. And when you find the fears that are yours, then you deal with it. You face it, but you can't do it. If nothing at all, I am telling you, I am 100% a testimony. I'm not the only testimony. If you look around, there are people all around you that are scared. Some of the greatest people who do the things that we celebrate every single day have done it scared. And you have to think about it that way sometimes. Think about all the great music that you wouldn't have been able to listen to, the movies, the books, the speeches, the people that just exist, who you just see shine their light in the world. And sometimes I see so many people do great things, do ordinary things in extraordinary ways, or do like extraordinary things that are extraordinary. And I'm always grateful that they chose to take up their gift and share it, because now I am on the receiving end of it. That's how I choose to think about it. So if you're here, we've all been placed here together to play, to interact with each other, to help each other grow, to witness each other, to bear witness with each other. And I think it is devastating to get to the end of your life and realize that you've deprived yourself of living because you were so scared, because we are all scared. It is not a thing that is unique to you. I'm sorry to tell you, but your fear does not make you special. You are just as afraid as the rest of us. We're doing it little by little every day. I'm doing it little by little every day. So I want to call you in to consider the fact that you don't have to do it all at once. One thing that sticks with me that I repeat time and time again is that the fastest way to get to where you want to go to is slowly. You don't have to do it in the boldest way possible. You don't have to be fearless all of a sudden. You can work your way up to it, but you do have to work your way up to it. You do have to do it. And it's going to be a little cringy to some people. It's going to seem like you switched up all of a sudden to some people. You're going to be misunderstood, all of the above. But it's most likely not going to be to the extent that you think it will be. Hopefully, there will be people in your life that are willing to love every version of you. And if most of the people in your life only want to love you because you are one specific version of yourself, it's going to hurt. I won't even lie. It's going to hurt. It's going to sting. But what other choice do you have? It is your life that you're living. You don't owe anybody your life. We owe each other many things, but you don't owe anybody your life. And you realize that when you start taking the steps towards courage, it's going to feel really scary, but it's also going to be exciting. You're going to have a lot of mixed emotions along the way. That is to be expected. You're going to feel a little lost at the beginning, but just because you feel lost or because you feel uncomfortable doesn't mean you're making the right decision. Even the good decisions feel hard at the beginning if you haven't exercised the muscle for it. So it's going to feel a little uncomfortable at first. It doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. It just means that you are learning to trust yourself. You're learning to understand. You're learning a new path. You're learning a new way. So it'll take time, but it doesn't have to be all or nothing. If you take nothing away from this video, it is that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Okay? I hope this helps. It definitely has helped me. I hope it helps you. All right. Thanks for watching. Bye.